Hello, and welcome to the Northwest Cavalryman Show, the podcast where your host, Rick Skolrud, discusses politics and news from Canada, the United States, and around the world, from a conservative perspective. Warning: professionally offended people and liberal crybabies may be triggered. Viewer discretion is advised. While we put the finishing touches on this podcast, you are invited to visit the show notes. There are links to all of Rick's social media, including his website where you can sign up to take the Canadian Firearms Safety Course, which is a prerequisite for obtaining your Canadian Firearms License, also known as a PAL. Rick teaches these courses in Maple Bay just east of Duncan on Vancouver Island, British Columbia. Now here's your host, Rick Skolrud.
Hey everybody, how y'all doing tonight? So I was kind of scrambling tonight. I had turned on the computer, reboot it so that everything would work well. And lo and behold, I didn't have any sound. So hopefully everything is going well. Let me know. Are you hearing anything? Is a sound coming through? Because I didn't have any sound about 10 minutes ago. But now I do. I think I do. Anyway. So tonight, I wanted to talk about that, liberal debate, if you can call it that. It really wasn't a debate. It was more like almost like a love fest or something like that. They really didn't challenge each other. There was a little bit of that, but not very much at all. Thank you very much, Jerry, for that sound check. Hello, Inzu. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that right. Kellerman. So not much of a debate at all. But I did learn something from that debate. Is that none of them are any good. I thought that Frank Bayliss might surprise me and come off as a little bit better, but nope. He's just as much of an idiot as the rest of them. First thing I want to do tonight is there's this funny thing that happened at the start of the debate, which, well, I thought it was funny. Maybe nobody else thought it was funny, but this happened.
Ms. Gould, thank you kindly. We're going to move into our first 5-minute debate.
I think you forgot Christia.
Oh my gosh.
That's no
First
problem.
mistake by the moderator. My apologies. Ms. Freeland, thank you.
Thanks, Hannah.
Yeah, I wish I could forget Christia Freeland, the twitchy witchy as I like to call her. I probably shouldn't call her that. I mean, it's mean, but considering everything she's done to us, I don't think it's undeserved. But I thought that was funny that they totally forgot her. And I would like to forget her as well. I would like to forget the last 9 years of her and Justin, 9.5 years. But of course we can't. We're still living with it. Now, what I wanted to basically talk about, I don't know how much, I really don't know how much I have as far as time goes, but we'll try to make it as interesting as possible. I spent most of the day after I got back home from shopping putting this together, and to do that I had to sit through that stupid debate for a second time. Ugh. But let's take a look at what Freeland said during the debate. The main part that I took out of it, which I thought was very, very worrisome, extremely worrisome, as a matter of fact.
Ms. Freeland?
It's a great question, because what is different about this unleashed and empowered President Trump is he is clearly threatening our sovereignty, and we need to respond. For the first time, the U.S., rather than guaranteeing, for the first time since the Second World War, rather than guaranteeing the rules-based order, the U.S. is turning predator. And so what Canada needs to do is work closely with our democratic allies, our military allies. I've been foreign minister. I know how to do that. That's why I would start with our Nordic partners, specifically Denmark, which is also being threatened, and our European NATO allies. I would be sure that France and Britain were there, who possess nuclear weapons. And I would be working urgently with those partners to build a closer security relationship that guarantees our security in a time when the United States can be a threat. And I would also, crucially, reach out to our Asian democratic partners, Japan, South Korea, Australia. They need to be part of the conversation too. We need to be ready for a world where the US is not the leader of the free world anymore. Canada can be and must be a leader in building this new order. Our allies are looking to us. And if we do this, we'll make ourselves safer as well. I think what it is about is will and a plan and commitment to defend our country. So I've put forward a plan to hit 2% by 2027. It is critical that we spend that money here in Canada on Canadian companies. And we need to be thinking about the next generation of warfare, as we're seeing in Ukraine. Drones, AI, these are really important. Our 2% should not be about sending checks to the United States. Critically, we need a plan to defend our own borders, very particularly the Arctic, and we need to be working with our Nordic and EU NATO partners. They have nuclear weapons. We need to say to them, we need a plan to protect and defend our shared Arctic without the US. And Canada will step up because it's our sovereignty that's at stake as well. I just want to push back against the idea that managerial or technocratic obstacles should get in the way of defending Canada. We really need to act with the fierce urgency of now. We need to recognize President Trump has said dozens of times he wants us to be the 51st state. I don't think any of us wants to be the leader who was asleep at the wheel and didn't get Canada defended, did not work with our democratic allies to protect our borders. They want to work with us. It's time for us to step up at home, to urgently reach out to them and build a new world order where democracy and Canadian sovereignty is protected.
Mr. Carney, you're up next.
Now, I'm not sure what you guys think of that, but I think that she is really getting scary. Now, she mentioned twice there about allies of Canada having nuclear warheads, nuclear weapons. And she mentioned that in regards to the United States being our enemy. The United States is not our enemy. They never have been. Well, okay, they haven't been since, like the early 1800s, but they're not our enemy now. We work well together with them. They are not our enemy. And all this talk about, the financial stuff that Trump is bringing up and the securing our border, they're not our enemy. They're our friends. So the fact that she's pulling out the nuclear option, well, that's just stupid. That is the stupidest thing I have heard any Canadian politician say. And does anybody really think that Great Britain and France, who have nuclear warheads, do you think that they would ever go against the United States? And if the United States launched on us, we would be completely devastated before any of those nukes got to us. So what she is saying is completely and utterly stupid. And then she throws in this bit about the New World Order. Oh my God. It's like those liberals are on another planet. Do they not know that 90% of the people just hate the idea of the New World Order? They hate this continued talk. This used to be popular back in the 70s, late 70s, and before people got kind of tuned into what was going on. This just shows how much of a Davos infiltrated system we have in Canada with the liberals. They're talking about the New World Order, and they're talking about going nuclear. The United States is not our enemy, Chrystia Freeland, and talking about going nuclear on them is just stupid. Now, she's got to be the worst politician ever. I mean, ever. Well, okay, there's one coming up here who's actually a little bit worse. But for the rest of almost all of the debate, she didn't really have much to offer. She did a lot of hand movements, even jazz hands. That's about all she had to do. And every time she was asked a direct question, she just completely flubbed it. She was not. She didn't give any substance at all. She just wanted to hear herself talk. And I think that she figures, because she's been the finance minister and the foreign minister and been side by side with Trudeau, that she's just the natural selection. But I got news for you, Ms. Freeland. Nobody liked you before the debate. And anybody who's on your side after the debate, after you talked about allies stepping up and protecting us because they have nuclear weapons and the United States is our enemy, that ain't going to happen. There's no way any fool in Canada would ever elect or vote for her. But she's not the only one that was completely out to lunch. Let's go to Karina Gould. I like to call her Gould because she's a ghoul. I guess I should put the D in there, Gould. She's got UBI. Sounds like an STI to me, but she's got UBI on the brain. And I think somebody should tell her that UBI has been tried and doesn't work. Take a look at this. I've put two clips together.
Ms. Gould, you're up next.
Thanks. Thanks, Hannah. I think your question was actually about the cost of living for Canadians. It wasn't about, the macroeconomic picture, which we know is doing okay for Canada. But when Canadians, people, don't feel like that, it's not working for them. I'm glad to hear, my colleague talk about housing. It's one of the first times I've heard him talk about it during this campaign. I put out a very bold, ambitious plan on housing that would eliminate homelessness, that would build millions of homes, and that would help first-time homebuyers get into the market. I've proposed a 1% GST tax cut from 5 to 4% to help Canadians with the immediate cost of everything. And I've put forward a plan to modernize our social safety net and put us on a path towards a basic income. Canadians are struggling. We need to help them make ends meet. That's what leadership looks like, and that's what the economy means to me. It's about people. When my colleagues talk about households, I talk about families. When they talk about, the macro picture, I talk about what it means for individuals. And I'm so proud that I was able to deliver affordable childcare for families across this country. And I would expand that to include before and after school care as well. But when we're talking about people who are going to food banks, we're talking about the most vulnerable in our society. A middle-class tax cut or removing the GST on new homes isn't going to help those folks. But you know what will? Modernizing our social safety net, making sure that seniors who live on a fixed income, persons with disabilities, folks who have lost their job, who need support to retrain and rebound, are better off. And that's why I'm talking about opening a path towards a basic income. Poverty costs money. That's why we need to work to eliminate homelessness. It's why I would work with provinces and territories to have specific accords to ensure that folks who get into housing can stay stable and that they can enter the workforce and join and be prosperous. We need to tackle poverty in this country. It is urgent for us to do, and it is something that I am promising that I will work on with Canadians to ensure that every person in this country has a real, viable opportunity for success.
Now, she talked about universal basic income there. That's, she didn't say universal, but basic income, the path to basic income. This is this is communism. It's never worked. I know everybody who looks at it, including the youth of today, a lot of them say, well, it's just never been done right. No, it actually has been. It's been done to the letter, to what Marx wanted people to do, how he laid it out, and it's just never worked. And yet twice she said she wanted universal basic income. That would completely destroy our country. It would, I don't know what these people are on. Their safe supply, I guess. They get it from the back of Trudeau's plane. But she is, I was just saying that Freeland was the dumbest, but I think that she's even worse, although she's not as dangerous as Freeland, because I think she's, I don't think she's as smart as Freeland. I guess I should give Freeland that. Gould is evil and stupid. But there's a lot of people who actually believe in universal basic income, who actually think that it's a good idea. There's a reason it sounds like an STD, because it's a bad idea. You catch UBI, it's just like catching an STD. It's not going to go well. It's not going to end well. It's going to end up with a lot of people just totally just our society completely broke. There was a video I saw, I don't have a clip of it, but this lady was trying to explain universal basic income to or basic communism and whatnot to people in her class. And because it was school, there was a lot of people who actually thought, hey, universal basic income, or working or just having a guaranteed wage would be good. And she said, well, what about we do that with grades? So, everybody will just average out all the grades and everybody will get the same grade. So the first test they did that on, the A students were now getting B's, and everybody else in the class was getting B's as well. And the A students didn't like that, but everybody else thought it was great. So the A students stopped working. The next test, everybody got a C. And finally, the third test, everybody got an F, because it doesn't work. And that basically summarizes what universal basic income would do. Communism works really great until you run out of other people's money, and people stop working because they have no incentive to work. And you can see that with little groups of societies, even within Canada. So I think that we need to get these people out. I think that the more they talk, the more harm they do to themselves. But there are a lot of people in Canada that have been brainwashed and haven't come to the realization just of how bad communism really is. Maybe they're just not really clued in on it. And I thought that Bayliss, being an entrepreneur and a business owner, I thought that he would be okay, but take a listen to this. He's not much better.
Thank you, Ms. Gould. Mr. Bayliss, you're up next. How will you differentiate yourself from Mr. Trudeau?
So I would say that I'm the candidate here that is the most distant from Mr. Trudeau. I was elected, it was over 6 years ago since I've been in the government. And then I was not a minister, so I've not been a minister with Mr. Trudeau's government, nor have I been an economic advisor. Where I will differentiate myself greatly is that I'll be focused much more on the economy. I'll be focused on creating wealth. I'll be focused on getting more money into Canadians' pockets. That's what I'm good at. I'm also going to look at building an innovation-based economy. So I really want to do that. That's going to be my main focus. You need both when you're in government. You need wealth creation and you need wealth redistribution. We've done a lot of wealth redistribution to the point that we're renouncing programs we can't even pay for. And we're letting programs such as healthcare fall apart. So what I want to do is get back in there. I'm a big supporter of these programs, so I want to make sure we have the funds to pay for them. That's going to be where I'm going to be much different from the previous government.
Okay, Mr. Bayliss, thank you for that.
So just remember what he said there. He is a big supporter of those programs. And what did those programs do? Well, he mentioned it. He mentioned wealth redistribution. So the moment you hear something like that, the moment you hear anybody say wealth redistribution, run the other way. He's not a good politician. He's not somebody you want to run in your country. I thought, being a businessman, maybe he'd have some common sense. But no, the fact is that there's a lot of businessmen who actually like communism because the ultra wealthy, they keep their wealth and they get even wealthier. Look at there's probably a few hundred people in China who are ultra wealthy. And in the Soviet Union, there were people who were ultra wealthy, and they came out of the Soviet Union era being wealthy. They kept their wealth because they were the ones in control. And we have this guy here, which I thought that maybe he would have at least some common sense, but no, he wasn't. So I think that we really got to worry about this guy. But this guy also, he goes on to say some pretty, well, actually before this, he said some pretty stupid things about how he would deal with Trump.
For this question. So Donald Trump said again yesterday, I'm sure we all know the 25% tariffs are coming on March the 4th. Only days later, one of you will become the prime minister of this country. What is your first move? And again, this was drawn ahead of time. And Mr. Bayliss, your start.
So first of all, I don't take him at his word. He said March 4th, but I would expect him to hit us beforehand, and I expect him to hit us again. What he's going to do is look at industries where he has overcapacity in the United States, because he'll be thinking that's going to hurt the American economy the least, I should say. So where I'm going to be looking at softwood lumber, and I'm going to be looking at dairy as the next two industries he's going to attack. And what we're going to be doing is supporting those industries completely. We're not going to let them take our jobs away. And we're going to be putting into place very intelligent counter tariffs. And then we're going to be waiting. And we're going to be waiting. Because he's not going to stop until he gets the lesson that he can't get away with this. Then what I am going to do is, as I said, I will go down and meet with President Sheinbaum of Mexico, come together with her and say, listen, let's hold the fort together. Let's call him on his 25% tariff bluff. Let's just call it. Tell him, do it. And let's take everything that he already took from us off the table. So we're in a lucky position in the sense that Donald Trump has targeted many other countries, European Union, we've talked about the other ones as well. So we can use this to our advantage. Now we can say to them, let's get together and target Donald Trump and target some of his industries. I'll give you an example. So Boeing Airlines, they have to sell planes all around the world, and they have competitors that can also compete with them and sell planes we can buy from Embraer, we can buy from Airbus and that. So we should get together with them and say, look, we're going to bankrupt Boeing. The Canadian government should also do this. Under the same guise that he's using to impose these tariffs on us, we should say, you know what? It's an emergency situation, and we got to relook at our defense spending, where we're buying planes from the United States. We're buying all kinds of defense industry products from the United States. And you know what? We're going to put them on hold for now, and if this continues for a couple more weeks, we're going to cancel them. We start this process, other people follow us, it will hit them exactly where it hurts.
Mr. Carney.
Well, it's interesting. I was asked a question.
So he wants to bankrupt Boeing. Well, Boeing's not doing too well right now, but to target an industry like Boeing and say that you're going to go out and bankrupt them, that's a direct threat. And it's not a threat that will get, anybody taking up arms. But what it is, it's a threat. It's an economic threat. And, we have to realize that we just don't have the clout to do that. And even if we ganged up with all of Europe doesn't actually have the the economy the same size that the United States has. So it could hurt them, but it's not going to defeat them. And instead of working against the United States, we should be trying to work with them, because it's not about trying to outdo them economically. It's about working with them. He says we're going to take everything off the table as far as what we've agreed to thus far. So and he specifically was talking about the border. So securing our borders benefits us, and he's totally ignoring that. It's like he doesn't care that securing our borders benefits us. All he cares about is attacking Trump. So, he's not a very logical person as far as I'm concerned. Boeing has some problems right now, and you know what? They could probably bankrupt Boeing, but what would that do? That wouldn't solve the problem. It wouldn't resolve anything. It would just mean that he's made enemies out of the few thousand employees that work for Boeing. It doesn't make any sense at all. Boeing puts actually a lot of money not only into the U.S. economy but into Canada, because of where it's located in the Pacific Northwest. So not much in the way of putting stuff into our economy, but there is a spillover effect. And if we go at the U.S. with the stated intention of destroying certain businesses and certain industries, that's not a good place to go into a negotiation with Trump. They're 10 times our size as far as the economy goes. They're 8 times our size as far as population goes. They can actually make it on their own without us. We cannot do that. Even if we diversify, even if we sell all of our oil and natural gas to Asia and Europe, we still need the United States as a trading partner, but they really don't need us very much at all. It would hurt them a little bit, but not to the extent that these 4 clowns think that is. So I think that I think we have to find some people who have a more realistic view on how to deal with this, and it's pretty simple. March 4th, if it comes back that Trudeau and the Liberals aren't following through on their guarantees of trying to work with and build up a secure border, then we're going to get the tariffs. But if we've done enough that it satisfies Trump, then that's off the table, and we have to worry about April the 2nd. So we should be working towards convincing the United States that we're working with them, not against them, and not saying that we're going to attack their businesses. So that's my opinion on that. Anyways, thank you, Brad. So the last couple of clips I have here, I have 2 of Carney and then 1 of a response to Carney. But here's, not during the debate though, he didn't really say anything that I found overly interesting during the debate. He agreed with a lot of people, but he's not, just like Chrystia Freeland, he doesn't have a lot of substance when you look at and you listen to what he has to say.
Olivia Stefanovich, CBC News. Why is it that you can make time to fill out your security clearance papers, but won't proactively disclose your corporate interests?
Because I'm received those security papers as part of this process for the leadership debate. The real question is, why can I fill out my security papers in the course of 2 weeks, arrange for an interview, have a police background check, be in a position to get my security clearance, and Pierre Poilievre, after 3 years, can't do any of those things? At a time when we know there's foreign interference in our democracy and our country is under threat. And I'll say one other thing. I've had security clearance in the past. I've had Five Eyes security clearance in the past. This is important information. And the idea that you could lead a major political party in this country, let alone think you could be prime minister without having access to this information, it's absolutely irresponsible. That's the question.
But then why won't you proactively disclose your corporate assets?
Just feel I'm in the middle of a leadership campaign. I will be subject to all the conflict of interest rules and the ethics rules. I will happily comply with all of them. It's a straightforward process. That will begin as soon as this process ends, if I'm selected as leader of the Liberal Party.
Next question, please. Question, Gaston.
Okay, I don't know if you caught that there, but what was kind of disturbing is he's saying he's got his security clearance done. And does that mean that he's privy to a lot of this information, privy to information about the traitors in Parliament? He's not elected. He's not been elected yet. He's not been selected as the prime minister yet. But he's saying he's done all of the security clearance. And presumably it's because he wants to have access to classified information. But here's the thing. I've had top secret security clearance in the past. Mainly RCMP they just cleared to secret. At one point, we were all cleared to top secret. Then that was too much work for our security department, so they downgraded us all to secret. But, at other times, I've had to be cleared up to top secret as well. That doesn't mean I automatically have access to all top secret information. I mean, if it doesn't pertain to anything I'm doing, I don't get briefed on it. It's like need to know. You don't need to know everything. I suspect, and I don't know this for sure, but I suspect that Pierre Poilievre already has the clearance that he needs, but that he just won't take the briefing, that he won't sign the extra piece of paper saying that he won't disclose anything, and therefore he can't get the briefing. And he said why. He said because if he signs that piece of paper, if he takes that extra little briefing that say, okay, everything you hear, you're not allowed to say. If he does that, then he cannot hold the government to account. Because remember, his job as the official opposition is to hold the government to account. So I suspect that he already has the level of clearance that he would need, but he's just not signing that particular document, allowing him to hear that confidential information. Because a lot of times what'll happen is you will have a certain clearance, but there will be a situation where information, you're going to get a briefing. You will have to declare by signing a piece of paper that you understand that this is either something that they don't want you to disclose, so a need to know, whatever, you can't disclose it. So I think that Carney is, he says, well, the real question, no, that wasn't the real question, Carney. The real question was the question put to you, why don't you reveal your financial obligations or what you have going on in the world financially? Why aren't you doing that? And I know why he's not doing it. I think everybody knows why he's not doing it, because he doesn't want to have to put anything in a blind trust or whatever those things are in case he doesn't get elected. because he's not going to stay as the leader of the official opposition if he doesn't get elected. That doesn't suit his purposes. I think that if he calls an election because he thinks they have the momentum and he loses, he's going to move to New York and run Brookfield management and be on the board of Bloomberg as well, and all these other boards. He's going to be back doing the exact same thing. He's not going to stick around. He's going to be gone. And that's why he doesn't want to disclose his financial dealings, because he doesn't want to have to get rid of them. And he wants to keep doing what he's doing. And there could be also some shady dealings. I don't think he's that stupid that he would have shady dealings. Because you'd have to. Eventually, they will come out, but you never know. He may have some shady dealings. And then, the funny thing was that was a CBC reporter. Normally, the CBC, they don't attack Liberals at all, but that was a CBC reporter. Now the Globe and Mail gets in on the deal here. They ask him a kind of a pointed question.
From south of the border. Thank you.
Next question, please. Prochaine question.
Bonsoir, Frédéric Plante with the Globe and Mail. You were the vice chairman at Brookfield Asset Management prior to
the chair. I was the chair.
Sorry. In the fall, they moved their head office from Toronto to New York. Did you approve of that decision, and what does this say about your commitment to growing Canada's economy and betting on Canada as for now?
Okay. So two things. I'll just correct a few factual things. One, I was chair of Brookfield Asset Management. I ceased to be chair on the 15th, I think, of January, when I announced for leadership. Also ceased to be chair of Bloomberg as well. Ceased to be United Nations Special Envoy on Climate Action and Finance. Ceased to be a number of other things. So I resigned all my positions because I am all in for Canada, all in for this leadership, all in during this time of crisis to build our great country. Okay, that's the first thing. Second, the formal decision of the board happened after I ceased to be on the board. I do not have a connection with Brookfield Asset Management. No longer have a role, obviously, as I resigned in the middle of January. Third thing I'd note, though, is that Brookfield has several companies that represent about 10% of the Toronto Stock Exchange. It is one of the biggest investors in this country. It is one of the biggest investors in the world. And it shows the ability of this country to build. We need more of that building here in Canada, but we need government policy in clear direction.
So you don't even have to. It's so funny that you don't even have to know the details to know that he's lying there. Because of the timeline. The timeline just doesn't fit Carney, and we all know the timeline. We all know that that Brookfield was planning on moving to the U.S. even before Trump was elected. Take a look at this.
Good morning. Last night, Mark Carney lied to Canadians. He lied to Canadians, saying that his company, Brookfield Asset Management, only moved their headquarters from Canada to Donald Trump's hometown of New York City after he had resigned from the board. Now, we all know that Brookfield made that announcement on October the 31st, proving that Mr. Carney was lying to Canadians. But this morning, we can share with you a letter signed by Mark Carney on December the 1st. Now, this is just days after Donald Trump had threatened Canada for the first time with unjustified tariffs. Now, this letter says that the decision by the board, of which Mark Carney at that time was chair, was unanimous to move the headquarters and Canadian jobs to Donald Trump's hometown of New York City. And the letter implores shareholders, urges them to support the move. Now, this is not surprising, but it is extraordinary to have Mark Carney stand before Canadians and in response to media questions to lie. It's now more important than ever that he disclose all of his financial interests and conflicts of interest, knowing that he's been advising the Liberals and Justin Trudeau for 5 years and not having disclosed what his interests were to this point. It's imperative that it happens in case he becomes Prime Minister. And it's more important than ever now that he's demonstrably lied to Canadians. We know that we can't trust what Mark Carney says, and we now know that he will put profits for himself and for well-connected insiders on Bay Street and now on Wall Street ahead of Canadians. It's crystal clear. If Mark Carney wins, Canada loses.
Yes, if Mark Carney wins, Canada loses. I think a lot of us are thinking that, and I think that was well put by Mr. Barrett. Now, as far as unjustified tariffs are concerned, I mean, one could argue that they're unjustified. One could argue that they're being used. Well, the way they're being used as leverage, and they're being used as sanctions. So, I'm not gonna take a side on whether they're justified or not. I don't like them, obviously, because it's going to harm the Canadian economy. Now, if it brings us to a better end, like some sort of a solution that works well for both of our countries, both of our populations, then, something good may come of it. But I'm worried about them. I don't think they're a good idea, but are they justified or are they not justified? Well, the first ones, the ones that are due, I think it's on Tuesday, they're all about getting Canadians off their butts and securing the border. That's all it is, right? So the other ones are the economic ones. Those are not due to come into effect until April the 2nd. Will they come into effect on April the 2nd? Maybe. But I think that we could probably negotiate our way out of that because of CUSMA or USMCA, however you want to put it. I think that we can probably negotiate our way out of it. Also, I think that if Pierre Poilievre, and let's keep our fingers crossed that the polls that most of us believe aren't really realistic and are possibly skewed. Let's hope that they're wrong. But if it turns out that Pierre Poilievre doesn't become the next prime minister, I think there's going to be a lot of trouble in Canada because Trump doesn't want to deal with the Liberals. And I don't think that Alberta wants to deal with the Liberals. I know most of BC, I would say, outside of the communist area that I live in, I like the area. I just don't like the fact that the people are so much on the left side of things here, on the wrong side. But I think most of the interior BC, anyways, is fairly reasonable, and they don't want to deal with another 4 years of the Liberals. Saskatchewan, Alberta definitely do not. I can't speak about people in the East, even though I was born in the East and I have relatives back there. I grew up in the West and I think like a Westerner. That's all I've ever known. And I've not seen the Liberal Party ever treat the West with any respect. And I just can't see Alberta putting up with that for another 4 years. Alberta in particular. So, I mean, who knows what will happen in the long run, but, you know, if any of these four clowns become the prime minister, God help us. I mean, they are just not, there's not a brain cell between the four of them that they can rub together and run a country with. I mean, they're all so far to the left. It is disgusting. But speaking of left, you know, and the stupidity of a lot of that, what about that Charlie Angus? Oh my God. First he starts a petition to revoke Elon Musk's citizenship. I mean, he knows that would never happen, but who in the hell would ever vote for that? I mean, that's mob mentality at its worst. If just because you don't like somebody's politics, you think that it's okay to remove their citizenship, that's just stupid, and that's not a country that we should, you know, or that's not something that we should agree to as a country. You know, that sort of a policy. Now, it's one thing if they're a criminal, they commit a crime, they're a terrorist. I'm all for if somebody has a citizenship in another country and they have a citizenship in Canada, I'm all for taking their citizenship away if they commit a crime. But Elon's not committing any crimes, and he's doing a lot of good things for the world, not just the United States. So that Charlie Angus, oh, what a piece of work he is. I've never, you know, seen anybody as despicable as Charlie Angus. He's not even running again because he knows he can't win. I'm pretty sure he knows he can't win. But then he has a second petition where he doesn't want to let Donald Trump into Canada. Well, that's just stupid. He's got, the thing is, he's got sovereign immunity while he's the president. So, which means that, yeah, if he travels somewhere, I mean, he's going to be treated like a diplomat. And he can come in just because he's been convicted of these felonious felonies. I'm going to call them that because they're not real. When you looked at the 34 counts, I followed that a little bit. I didn't watch all of it, but I followed it a little bit. And the thing is I can't. They were supposed to be misdemeanors, and they inflated them in a really bizarre way. And then they said you don't even have to agree on what the underlying conspiracy was in order to, you know, agree that these should be elevated to felonies. So it's like, come on, man. It's just stupid. It's just completely stupid. So for Charlie Angus to say that Trump shouldn't be allowed to come to Canada to, you know, to attend a summit or whatever, the G7, that is just ridiculous. Maybe he won't even come to the G7 summit. He's actually, he's kind of talking about getting out of a lot of those, you know, worldwide organizations anyways. He's talking about getting out of NATO, and he's even talking about kicking Canada out of Five Eyes. I'm not sure that would be a good idea. Now, Chrystia Freeland did mention that we should, was it Freeland or was it Gould? Freebird or Gould. They both mentioned, I think one of them mentioned about expanding our intelligence agencies to foreign intelligence, because right now all CSIS does is internal intelligence. Now we have a lot of intelligence agencies that people don't even know about in Ottawa, but we really don't have any serious foreign presence. So if we're not pulling our weight there, then yeah, we have to start pulling our weight there. So I didn't get a lot out of that debate. I thought it was more of a love fest than anything, but I was really quite disappointed, and I was really disappointed in Bayliss because I was hoping that there would be at least one sane person there, and then when he started talking, he's just as bad as the rest of them. So anyway, I'm just going to go look at some of this chat here. See, I can't go back to the start. It doesn't look like I can go back to 6:38. So hello Tracy, hello Liz. Yeah, it should be reported to Elections Canada. I'm not. There's a lot. I guess there's a lot of things you could report those people to. They're not. I don't think they're very honest. Goko, thank you very much for that little donation. The news cycle needed a new sip. So you put up some beer. That sounds good. Hello, Tracy, one of Trudeau's handlers. Michelle, why does he say unjustified tariffs? That's because, the whole thing in Canada now, even if you're conservatives, is that the tariffs are unjustified. I'm not sure if they're going to be able to keep that, kind of line going, but I have a feeling that we're going to be able to negotiate our way out of it. Hello, James. Michelle. So Bernie, how you doing, Bernie? I don't think I've seen your name here before. Tariffs on dairy has always been a thorn in the USA. Well, we have this thing. We have the this supply management, which is a big thorn. I actually, I don't know if any of you live on the island in the Cowichan Valley, but I actually go to this dairy, and I get milk at this dairy here. It costs me more than what it would in the store, but it's fresh, and it's very minimally pasteurized. So, you pay for the good stuff. It's called Promise Valley. If anybody lives locally, they got some good stuff there. So you're thinking about leaving Canada, are you, Tracy? Yeah, well, I can't afford to leave Canada, so let's see here. Yeah, so yeah, Ken said Jag qualified for his pension for life. Actually, he qualified for that technically by the time Parliament was supposed to come back. So on the 27th of January, he would have qualified because elections are minimum of 36 days long. And as long as the returns came back after the 25th, so 2 days ago, I think that's when he qualified, he would have had that. So he could have still called an election and still qualified for his pension. So yeah, Michelle, I agree with you there, but you see, when Danielle Smith said that she didn't feel that there was interest in Alberta becoming the 51st state, and she was talking about that billboard near where was that billboard? I think she was wrong about that, but she had to say it. She's the premier of the province. She's not going to say anything else. Now, she could put it to a referendum, if she was urged to or if she was convinced to. But even I don't know if she believes that, but I do know that she didn't really have anything else she could say. Now, unless she's trying to put pressure on somebody, which at that particular time she wasn't. So, yeah, I think she had to say that. Hey, Norm, Brumley, how you doing? Yeah, you're referring to Carney and Brexit in England. He's been kind of involved in not only in Canada, but he's been involved in some sketchy stuff even abroad. And now he's got that heat pump business, and he pushes all this green stuff. That's to me, there's some conflict there. There's definitely some conflict there. Just kind of scrolling down here. I probably missed a lot. I know I missed the first half there because I think this only goes back to 200 lines or so, or 300 lines. So, okay. So, who do you guys think that the Liberals will actually vote in as the next prime minister? Which I think is a stupid thing, like that one party gets to vote. I think Carney is still going to win, although with every minute that passes, I think people see him as he is, and there's less and less chance of that. But I think that I think he's still probably the front runner. I don't think that Chrystia Freeland has a chance after the debate, after bringing up those nuclear comments. I can't see anybody. I can't see anybody thinking that she would be a good candidate after that. But we get, who on the stage is a good candidate? Nobody on that stage was a good candidate. But one of them is going to end up being our prime minister. And that, to me, sucks. Because, the country isn't voting for it. It's just one party. And I know that's happened in the past. I know that's our system. But I think there should be. I think if the Conservatives get in, we should petition the Conservatives to change the Elections Act that, if a person is voted in as prime minister, as a leader of the ruling party, but they don't have a seat, or even if they have a seat, but if the leadership changes of the ruling party, there has to be an election, because this is ridiculous. This is absolutely ridiculous. But that's all I had for today, for tonight. I'm going to, I got to move upstairs because the fumes down here, I was doing some work on some tables and putting some polyurethane. And that was yesterday. There's still a few fumes, so I want to get out of here before I have a headache. But anyway, thank you very much for tuning in. It's been a pleasure. I hope I didn't, disgust too many people with my my review of that debate, which wasn't a debate. But anyway, there you go. Thanks, everybody. And I hope you guys have a great rest of your weekend. And not this weekend, but next weekend, I'm going to be teaching here. That's why I had to do some work on some tables. And I will, I'll let you guys know how that worked out. I've got 5 students, so that's actually not bad. 5 students set up. Maybe have some observers here because a couple of them are minors, so you never know. I might have a full house. I could actually teach up to 12, but anyway, thanks for tuning in, and we will see you next Thursday. And hopefully I'll get a chance to put out some videos in the meantime as well. Thank you very much, and God bless.
You've been watching the Northwest Cavalryman Show. Thank you for tuning in this evening. I hope you've enjoyed the content. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and share with your friends and on social media. May God bless you. And if you're a liberal crybaby, bless your heart. Have a great rest of your week, and we'll see you next Thursday.